And with that, we are one game away from heading to the Final Four. Florida beats Maryland. Final score was 87-71. I usually kind of tell you how the game goes, but Graham, I know you're probably ecstatic, so I'll let you go for about 4 minutes and say what you want to say.
Them Gator boys, stay hot. Yeah, we stay hot. Oh my God! Look. First of all, kind of disgusting first half. One of the worst. Honestly, one of the worst halves of basketball they played all season. Honestly, they kind of looked like in the first half, though, and it looked eerily reminiscent of that game they played in Knoxville. Remember when Knoxville handled them, or when Tennessee handled them pretty bad in Knoxville? Blew them out. It really was never a competitive game. Tennessee kind of dominated them start to finish, and just turning the ball over a lot that game. Walter Clayton rolled his ankle late in the game, and of course, Condon hurt his ankle in this game. Just kind of a lot of similarities. And I'm like, man, but I'm thinking to myself at halftime, and you probably felt similar, Dylan. And I think a lot of people watching probably did. I'm like, okay, naturally, because you want to win the game so bad, like you're nervous, you're on edge a little bit, whatever, right? But you kind of step back and you think for a second, you're like, okay, that was the most turnovers of any half in the NCAA tournament so far. Horrendous game in that regard. Just sloppy. The Gators were making shots, but sloppy. A lot of fouls, ticky-tack fouls, but fouls. Sometimes legit fouls, sometimes BS fouls, and then just terrible turnovers. And yet they're winning at halftime. An average team, even a good team, is losing that game, maybe even by double digits, and the Gators were winning. And that shows how good they are. So I'm like, man, if this game can just not have so many fouls for a little bit, and if there's not so many turnovers from both teams, and if both teams just play basketball, just play good, clean basketball, the Gators are going to run them off the floor. And that's exactly what happened. Finally, in the second half, the refs weren't blowing the whistle as much. And I think both teams just played a little bit of a cleaner game. Both teams weren't turning the ball over quite as much. And it was just ball being played. It was actually a fun game to watch in the second half. And the Gators rolled it. Maryland, you could tell that when the game flow got going and the Gators could really start to run their tempo and their speed and run the game how they wanted to go, you could tell at that point it was not going to be a competitive game because Maryland wouldn't be able to keep up. The rebounding was eventually going to catch up to them and really just break their backs, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, Florida had 13 turnovers, and Maryland only had 12 points off of those turnovers. That was probably the biggest stat, where it was so glaring for Florida how awful they played, and yet Maryland didn't take advantage of it, and Florida led 40-38. Hanlockton had 3 fouls at the half. Elijah Martin had 3 points at the half. So basically, it was just too many empty possessions, and you're thinking, okay, if Florida can just even limit half of these empty possessions, they'll be fine. And Chinyalu and Albertine spoke after the game. I heard their post-game presser on the way home before we started this, and they said, yeah, we were just sloppy. We were lazy. And all they had to do was just, they talked about it at halftime, and they shortened it up. I think they only ended up having 4 turnovers in the second half. But, I mean, Florida was just the better team up and down.
By a long shot. When Florida was playing clean basketball, it was never competitive.
No. Rebounds, 33-15, Florida's advantage. Florida had 11 offensive rebounds. I didn't get a chance to look at their second chance points. The biggest thing, too, Condon gets hurt, and you don't know what, if he's going to come back. And, he's doing the Tour de France bicycle on the sideline. And you look at the end of the game, Florida ended up having 6 guys in double-digit figures. And I forget who it was. Their leading scorer had 15 points.
Derek Queen?
No, I'm talking about for Florida. Florida's leading scorer had 15 points.
Yeah.
And yet they had 6 guys in double digits. Queen ended up having like 30, I think, from Maryland.
But it was clear he was their only offense. He and the shooter. I forget the shooter's name. That was really their only offense. It kind of felt like Maryland was stuck in quicksand a lot of the game. Like, I don't know. It was just like if I'm a Maryland fan, I'm pretty upset with how the offense was because they just felt stagnant the whole game. That they never really they hit some shots when at times, but they were honestly never in a rhythm and a flow offensively. It never felt clean for them. Um, it did feel clean for Florida in the first half when they weren't turning the ball over. Um, Tyler Humphries, Todd Golden need to recruit Queenie to come over next year. Queen will be in the NBA, but that would be sweet. But Florida felt comfortable offensively outside of stupid turnovers, honestly, start to finish. I mean, Walt didn't score a bunch of points, but that's because Maryland was all over in the entire game. So he honestly just made life really, really easy for whatever other four guys were on the court whenever he was. But I mean, look, man, Aberdeen playing well, like you just said. It felt like every time Elijah Martin touched the ball, good things happened. It felt like every time Will Richard touched the ball, good things happened. Alex Condon gutting it out. The bigs playing a little better offensively today. I know Chinyelu fouled out, but you kind of take that with kind of the way the game was going. I'm fine with that. And what really I think started breaking the back of Maryland, Dylan, in that second half was when Florida really started to go on their run. Was Maryland's obviously defending the three-point shot with everything they have because Florida was shooting extremely well the whole game. But in the first half, when that was happening, Florida was feeding it to whatever big was inside. It was usually Chinyelu since Condon got hurt. It was Condon really early in the game, and then Chinyelu most of the second half, or most of the end of the first half, I should say. And Florida was getting one-on-one possessions with a big backing them down, but not capitalizing a whole lot. And what happened in the second half was instead of doing that and having the bigs not named Condon because he was still hurt, trying to score with some post moves, they started saying, okay, Elijah Martin, Thomas Houck, some of these other guys that are ball handlers outside of just Clayton, you guys get through that initial 3-point wall, get some penetration, attract help defense, dump it off to Chinyelu, and he's going to have the easiest dunk of his life. And that happened like 3 possessions in a row. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, whatever Maryland wants to do defensively, they can't be right. They couldn't. It got to a point where it's like no matter what they want to stop, Florida can counter with the other thing. And that's where I think Florida's depth, I think Florida's coaching, and I think Florida's versatility offensively really, really, really showed up today because it's like, man, they truly can, and this has kind of been the calling card of this team all year, this and rebounding. Florida truly offensively can beat you in really any way, right? You want to run up and down the floor, Florida will run up and down the floor. You want to play physical, Florida play physical. You want to defend the three-point shot, Florida will go inside. You want to play zone, Florida will shoot the three. Like they have the counter punch to every single thing. So when this team just plays with their head on straight, doesn't turn the ball over, there's hardly anybody, if anybody, that can beat them.
One of the things I'm sure you've heard, and many Gator fans heard coming into this game, Maryland didn't have any bench. And the game when they beat Colorado State 72-70, when they won, whatever the score was, they scored at the last second.
It was 7-1, I believe.
Yeah, 70 of their 72 points came from their starters. So they only had 2 bench points. And then you look at the end of the game, there was 4 minutes left. Florida had 24 bench points to Maryland 0. And you knew that this was going to be a factor. And it felt really bad at first in the first half whenever Florida is fouling Maryland, getting them in the double bonus. And they're getting 2 free throws with 4 or 5 minutes left in the first half. And it's like, that's the strategy we should be playing against these guys to get them in trouble and get them in the bench.
Because you're getting your own guys in foul trouble and neutralizing that depth advantage that you have. But, yeah, Dylan, I mean, it was like we're just saying, like if Florida plays with their head on straight and you're a team that has to win with playing with just 5 guys or 6 guys, it's going to be a long day for you, especially in the second half. And I kind of felt that way at halftime. I was nervous and really wanted it to be this way. So I was not totally convinced, but I did sort of feel like at halftime, like, okay, again, if Florida just cuts out these boneheaded turnovers, gets up and down the floor, plays with the confidence they should, and gets the rebounds they always do, this depth is just going to absolutely kill Maryland in the second half. And that's exactly what and we've seen that happen. How many times, Dylan, have we seen Florida play a game where it's close and competitive at halftime? You look up with 10 minutes left in the game and Florida's blowing them out. It's happened time and time and time again this year. And Todd Golden, you've heard him when he's mic'd up in the huddle before. You've heard him say, our depth is going to beat these guys. They can't keep up with our depth. Oh, we got a dog coming in. They're going to say they can't keep up with our depth, and that's exactly what happened again.
Looking at the game right now, Arkansas leads Texas Tech 22-14, 7.5 minutes left. Florida will get the winner of this game on Saturday. Time is yet to be determined, but Florida gets the win. So looking at this game, would you rather play Arkansas or are you at the point right now, are you like it doesn't matter who we play?
Well, I am at the point where I don't think it matters who they play, but I still would probably rather play Arkansas because I think in these moments, I think you benefit from some familiarity. The only thing, honestly, that makes me nervous in these games whatsoever with the Gators is, dumb turnovers, because that has been a pattern somewhat throughout the year. They've turned it off and on at times. But, dumb turnovers because that makes halves in the first – that makes halves like the first half happen. But the other thing is sometimes there's just unfamiliarity with other opponents, right? And there's just certain things. There might be a certain guy you're not familiar with. There might be just, if for whatever reason, something you're just not totally accustomed to. It's almost like in football, right? Like a team you've seen on film. You know what they want to do. You're a little bit more prepared for that. And if you're simply just better, you might have a better chance against that opponent. So with Arkansas, Florida's already beaten them on their home floor. I know that was a while ago, and I know things have changed, but you bring me a team that Florida's already played, they've already beaten, and they've seen on film, they're familiar with, and they've already beaten on their home floor for a chance to go to the Final Four. I'll take that any day of the week. Bring me Texas Tech too. I'm not worried, but I'll take Arkansas if I can.
Yeah, I would. I'd much rather play Arkansas, but I'm not too worried if we play Texas Tech. Even though I think Texas Tech is a much better opponent. And
for the record, Dylan, I think this bears worth. This is important to say. I think Maryland would beat both of them. Personally.
Really?
Yeah. I think people might be down on Maryland right now because they just watched us wax them. Listen, Florida waxes a lot of teams, right? Tennessee is still dancing. Florida beat the hell out of them last time they played, right? So, like Bama, for example. Bama just set an NCAA record for points, and Florida disposes of them every time they play.
Did you see that? Did you watch any of that game?
I watched some. I didn't watch some. I was kind of more hearing about it, but
yeah, that game, it felt like an NBA game. It was like go down the court 3, come down the court another 3, come down the court 3. I was watching it a lot whenever Florida went to commercial. Alabama couldn't miss. Yeah, and that's a team that Florida's beaten twice,
and then beaten handily.
Yeah,
beaten on their home court, and then absolutely. Granted, Grant Nelson wasn't playing the second game for the most part. I'll give him that, but still, absolutely murdered him the second time they played. And that kind of gets to the point I'm saying, though. And like, there's, as if anybody in here needs more confidence for the Gators. I'm sure nobody here does, but think about how many teams are still dancing that Florida has murdered at some point in the season.
Well,
right?
It'll be
half the damn SEC is in the Sweet 16, and Florida's murdered a bunch of teams.
Yeah. Think about it. You have Alabama's already advanced. Arkansas, if they hang on to this lead against Texas Tech, tomorrow, the winner of Tennessee or Kentucky. You've beaten Tennessee 2 out of 3. You've lost to Kentucky on the road by a little bit.
If Kentucky had a return trip to Gainesville, I think it would have been ugly for the Cats.
Yeah. And then you have Auburn and Ole Miss tomorrow that are playing, that are left in the field.
Oh, wait. Florida's beating the hell out of both of them.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Dylan, listen. I know I've said it 100 times. If this team can just keep their brain on and not have dumb turnovers and not have dumb fouls, I don't know if anybody can beat them. I'm so serious. This team is so good and they're so deep. They can beat you in every single way, and they play with an edge and they play with heart, and they were sometimes throughout the regular season, but now when it's on the line, they're never flat. Like every possible run they can get, they do. Like I don't see Texas Tech or Arkansas, for example. Like what's the blueprint? What's the way? Unless Florida beats themselves, what is the way that one of those two teams shows up and beats this team? They're far worse. They're inferior opponents by a lot in the Elite Eight. The Elite Eight. We're not talking the round of 64. This is not Norfolk State. This is Elite Eight, and Florida is playing teams they are far, far better than.
How does Florida fix the slow starts in the first half? I mean,
turnovers. It's turnovers.
If they can fix, I mean, half of what they did something like this tonight, I mean, I don't know of many teams that can hang with this team, man.
Correct, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And to answer your question, how do you fix the slow starts? You fix the turnovers. Because how many times when they have slow starts, it's not, a lot of times when teams have slow starts, it's that, the first 5 minutes of the game, they just can't shoot. Nothing's falling. Or, maybe one of their best players got a silly foul or two, and that kind of screwed them up to start the game. That's not really what happens. What happens with this team is they turn the ball over in head-scratching ways 2 or 3 times, and they end up either tied with the team they're better than or in a deficit because they can't take care of the ball.
All right, we got this question from Tyler, and we'll open this up for questions that anybody wants to ask. Not this one. Was a better chance in the championship, Florida versus Duke or Florida versus another SEC team? I think that's pretty easy. You kind of just about it. Florida against another SEC team.
Yeah, Tyler, I think you know the answer to that, my brother. A team they've already beat or a team that has Cooper Flag?
Yeah. Cooper Flag he's going to give anybody fits until he plays in the NBA. We got Matthew saying Texas Tech, Arkansas is not close right now.
I tend to agree. Matthew, I tend to agree.
28-21 Arkansas is up. 5 minutes left until halftime. But yeah, man, Florida was clearly the better team. They started slow, and then they rolled in the second half. I know most people will like to sit here and talk for 20, 30 minutes on what happened. That was essentially what happened. And Maryland they had no answers whatsoever for Florida.
Not at all. And again, I know we sound like broken records because we've already said this multiple times on the podcast, but I don't see a lot of teams having any answers. What do you expect most teams to be able to do?
Let's see. We got one. Arizona is giving Duke all they can handle. Yeah, I saw that for 2-point game. Rob,
show Tyler's comment real quick about Common holding up against Cooper Flag.
Come on, this one right here.
Yeah, Tyler. Yes, I think you can, but I mean, would you rather do that or not? Like, I'd rather not if I get the choice.
Yeah.
I think Florida can, and I would pick them to beat Duke. And Duke would probably be favored, but I don't care. I think Florida's better. But if I don't have to play them, that'd be cool.
Yeah. All right, let's if they get us in foul trouble, we turn the ball over and can't make our free throws. They can beat us, but our best is better than anyone in the country. Yeah, free throws was another issue. I mean, I felt like there was a point in the middle of the game where Florida couldn't hit free throws, or they would make one, miss one, instead of making both of them.
Matthew's asking Houston. I don't think Houston's better than Florida. I think Florida. If that game's right now, and obviously they're going to play on a neutral court if they play. Florida's a 3.5, 4-point favorite in that game in my opinion. Agreed.
No, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
That was weird. The game today, I don't know if you followed the line. At least it was on Hard Rock. It opened at 6.5, and then line moves to 6. Then it goes to 7, and then some books had it at 7.5. So it was kind of back and forth. I mean, I felt like, I don't know if we hit on this after the UConn game. All right, no, I guess we didn't because we didn't do one because you were Vegas. Florida, they've had their test against UConn. They played against one of the best coaches in the country. UConn was physical, and Florida survived. And it felt like once Florida got past that hurdle, it seems like up until you get to the Final Four that, unless Florida completely beats themselves, that they're not probably going to lose a game.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I haven't had this much confidence in a Gators sports team, forget basketball, sports team, in over 10 years. I have more confidence in this team than the 2014 Final Four team.
Yeah.
And
That 2014 was leaking oil when they were like they had only lost 2 games, but they weren't hitting their stride like this team was going into the tournament.
Yeah, and I think also that team this team has a level offensively they can reach that team I don't believe had, because obviously you had Michael Frazier, who is an elite shooter. Scotty Wilbekin could shoot, but you didn't have guys that could shoot on the run. You didn't have anybody that could shoot like Clayton, and you didn't have guys that could not only shoot but also shoot and take you off the bounce like Richard and Martin. Dude, I'll tell you, Martin's an unsung hero of this game. He didn't have like one specific play necessarily, except his and one was pretty awesome. But like, I'm telling you, I just felt like every time he touched the ball, something good was going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Walter Clayton and Elijah Martin wish they could pitch on the baseball team. Yeah, they could have used it again in the ninth inning against Florida State the other night.
Yep.
Yeah, that wasn't good. Let's see. Yeah, that's about all we got. Yeah. So Florida advances to Saturday. I hope they play Saturday night. That's gonna be interesting. Because I got to do something during the day and coach track. I got a damn track meet. But I hope hopefully Florida doesn't play at 5 o'clock. I mean, if they're playing out west in San Francisco, you don't think that they would have them in the early window. Say that again.
It'll be a later game, I would think. It'll be dark out when we're watching that game, I would imagine, here on the East Coast.
Yeah. By the way, Duke's in the battle. They're tied at 42 with less than a minute left in the half. So,
hell yeah,
man, if they lose,
Caleb Love, give me one last ride against Duke, baby.
Dude, if Duke loses, I mean, it's already most books that you look at. Duke is the slight favorite to win the title, like plus 200, and Florida's at plus 300. If Duke goes down tonight, Florida is going to be the prohibited favorite.
Yeah.
With a big gap.
I mean, talk about getting a break. If Caleb Love gives me one last ride, man, that would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
I hate Coach K with every fiber in my body. So when Caleb Love retired him, that was fantastic. Come on, baby. Arizona, we need you.
Yeah. Here's one last thing I'll say, and then we'll sign off unless somebody else has a question. Alex Condon gets hurt with his ankle. Correct me if I'm wrong. Walter Clayton hurt his ankle when Florida played at Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then he didn't play the next game, right?
Yes.
So, and that's obviously, that was a Saturday to a Tuesday. Florida's obviously, they played tonight and they play again Saturday. I do kind of worry about that. If, you can still play, you can twist your ankle in UI and, 100 other people that played basketball. You twist your ankle and you're fine and you can keep playing. But the swelling that can happen the next day or two could be a big issue. And hopefully that doesn't happen for Condon. And hopefully he can, play on Saturday.
Yeah, it depends on how serious it is. The fact that he did come back to the game gives me confidence he should be okay. But obviously we'll have to see. That's going to be a big factor in the game. Even if he plays, I'm worried about him having that kind of one extra bounce to be able to finish. That was kind of an issue for him all night. But he's going to do everything possible to play.
Yeah, and it was weird how he hurt his own ankle. Like, it was friendly fire. Like, dog, go around your teammate in a fast break, man. That would suck. No, Duke is a favorite to win the title. Matthew.
The number one overall seed doesn't automatically make you the betting favorite.
Yeah, I'm talking about the odds-on favorite.
The book has Duke as the favorite to win the title, and then Florida's right after. Because overall seed, because they have the best resume, but that doesn't mean they're playing the best basketball. Vegas doesn't care for an overall seed.
Last question, Grandma. Any word on what's up with Sam Alexis? On why he's not playing?
He's not good at basketball. That's what's up with Sam Alexis.
All right, there you go.
He hurt his ankle, and then Micah Hanlogan came back, and now there's 4 bigs in the play. I mean, where's he going to get on the floor?
Yeah.
Sam Alexis has not had He's not played well in a long time. I mean, if they put him in every now and again for a body to pick up some fouls, and he has a decent offensive game, that's fine. I don't want to see him playing substantial minutes the rest of this run because when Florida gets every loose ball, they get every rebound, they fight them off. When he's in the game, that magically stops, and I don't want any part of that.
Yeah. All right. Duke just went on a 6-0 run, so they lead 48-42 at the half. And Arkansas, I guess something's had to happen because this game's been stuck at the score. Okay. Texas Tech just got a bucket. Arkansas leads 31-25. I'm going to catch the rest of these games.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to eat my Chipotle. And then y'all have a good one. And we'll talk to y'all. You good Saturday night? Or do you need a permission slip to do another podcast?
No, we got Saturday. We're in. We're locked and loaded. We'll see y'all boys. Gators.
Yep. Till then, peace.